Hi everyone, this is Jake Gilleshammer continuing our video blog series with some SmartList troubleshooting tips. In this video we will cover some of the main tables that you'll be using as well as some common errors that we normally see in our system support cases. Here we can see a list of all the SmartList tables. Not all of them will come into play during normal troubleshooting, but as you can see there are quite a few. The main SmartList tables that we'll be focusing on in this video are the ADH00100 User SmartList Master, ASI EXP81 SmartList Favorites Master, ASI EXP86 SmartList Favorites Columns Master, and ASI TAB20 ASI Field Definition. The two that you'll use most often are the ASI EXP81 and the ASI EXP86. Here we can see some helpful scripts to use with SmartList troubleshooting. The SP help scripts will give you an idea on the table structure, and the select scripts will show you the data held in the tables. One thing I would like to point out is how the ASI EXP81 table reflects the account framework. Out of the box GP starts out with 5 segments with lengths of up to 9 characters. So that means that you can have 5 separate segments with different names, and the account will have a max amount of 9 characters. Sometimes when this table gets corrupted, the table can get reset back to the original as shown here, and will need to get recreated with the correct account framework as shown in the SY00302 table. We can verify the account framework in the account definition tables against the SmartList Favorites master table using these scripts. Sometimes during an upgrade, this table can get reset back to the default of 5 segments with 9 characters, which can cause errors. So you want to make sure that the SmartList Favorites table has the same number of start and end columns that appear in the account definition tables. Recreating this table with the correct account framework can get a bit tricky. You'll need to edit the base create script for the ASI EXP81 table to include new columns, as well as updating the current columns to use the correct number of characters allowed in each section. I'll include the base create script as well as the insert script you can use to put the data back into the main table from the backup table. I've also seen scenarios where the insert script doesn't generate correctly when there are more than 9 segments, as SQL tries to put everything into alphabetical order. As we can see from this screenshot, the end account numbers are incrementing incorrectly, so you may need to manually edit the insert script so the column numbers are in order, otherwise the insert will fail. And that brings us to our most common error message that we see in our support cases, the ASI Initialize Explorer Tree error. This error usually seen when there is a mismatch of records between the ASI EXP81 and the ADH00100 tables. This can either mean that there aren't any records in the ADH100 table that have the same ASI favorite dictionary ID as the ASI EXP81 table, or there are too many records in the ASI EXP81 table with the same ASI favorite dictionary ID. Here are 3 scripts that can be used to determine which records are missing from the ADH100 and ADH101 tables. Once you have this information, you can run a select script on the ASI EXP81, ADH100, and ADH101 tables to determine which ones are missing. Once you have the results from the previous scripts and select scripts, you can then determine whether you need to insert records into the ADH100 table or remove records from the ASI EXP81 table. You'll just need to edit the ASI favorite type, ADH parent favorite type, and ADH list name to reflect the missing record. Having a backup of these tables will also be very helpful. This error can take some time to figure out as the records need to match exactly, but this should give you an idea what needs to be done to fix it. Moving on to another common error, the ADH user list master error. This one occurs due to a dexterity limitation where only 32,000 characters are allowed. If you execute the SmartList script being used when you create that SmartList and it has over 32,000 characters, then you'll see this error whenever you attempt to run that SmartList. The only workaround that we have for this is to use a SmartList script that has fewer than 32,000 characters, as dexterity is hard-coded for that value. Now let's talk about exporting SmartList to Excel. GP used to use COM for exporting to Excel. However, that was changed back in GP 2013 to use OpenXML 2.0 to make things quicker. SmartList is designed for quickly pulling and viewing small sets of data. It was not designed for large reporting. So, by default, our SmartLists only pull about 1,000 records and really shouldn't be used for anything larger than that. We do have these two DexINI switches that you can play around with to potentially speed things up. However, there are some potential downsides. I have provided articles that dig a little deeper into the positives and negatives for each switch. You might have to test each one being set to either true or false to determine which works best for your needs. Sometimes while troubleshooting SmartList issues, you'll need to recreate the stored procedures. Here are some steps that you can use to recreate those stored procedures using SQL maintenance. Please note that these steps should only be used for the stored procedures, as recreating the tables this way will not recreate the data within them. As another precautionary step, you should have valid backups of your Dynamics database before proceeding. Make sure all the users are logged out of GP. Within GP, navigate to GP, Maintenance, and SQL. Select the options for Database, Dynamics, Product, SmartList, and then Company, Dynamics. In the main field, you can use a Control-A to select all of the values in the big field there. And then in the right-hand margin, mark the Drop Auto Procedure and Create Auto Procedure options. Then you can go ahead and click Process, close out a GP, and then re-log in. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope this helped shed some light on some of the main issues that we see within SmartList. As always, if you need any help, please feel free to open a support case. We're always happy to help. You can also pose any questions that you have in the GP community forums, where partners and customers like to collaborate together. And I have pasted a link to that below.